It's me, Phil Gunn, confident I'll find the right buttons to press. Education Minister Julie Edge has been hitting the headlines recently in relation to the southern swimming pool closure and subsequent reprieve. And just over a year ago, Rob Callister made headlines for his very brief tenure as Health Minister. Both are vocal contributors to Tynwald, but now is our chance to find out a bit more about their constituency work. This is, though, your programme, so please call and ask them a question. So, we have our two guests in the studio. First of all, did you all survive the big storm last night?
Yes, certainly, Phil. It was a storm. Obviously, the island's quite resilient in these situations. Anyway, it's not something that we're not used to. And I'm aware there was a power outage in Onchan, but I think all the teams that went out during the night and that have managed to keep the island moving this morning.
Rob, you managed to get in all right?
I think this is the first storm that I wasn't cut off. I think the last two major storms we've had on the island, trees have come down and took my power out in my house about 3 hours and 6 hours. And as Julie said, a number of areas in Onchan were cut, were without power last night. But a massive thank you to all the emergency service for a brilliant job for keeping our community safe.
And I suppose it would be wrong of us not to it would be wrong of us not to go straight to Julian, who's one of our callers. Because remember, listeners, this is your programme. Last Friday, of course, we had, I think, about 7 or maybe even 8 callers, and sadly not enough space to fit in all the texts. But if we go now to Julian, and no doubt Julian will tell us why you're calling. Julian.
Hi, Phil, and hello to Julie and Rob.
Good afternoon, Julian.
Hiya. I've got a couple of questions for Julie. First one, I understand that the 28 staff at the Southern Swimming Pool are related, that they haven't lost their jobs, so that's a very big plus, and there's an awful lot of people who pull together, so seems to be a win at the moment anyway. My questions for you, Julie. First one's about the NSC. The NSC's budget has been reported recently as exceeding £330,000, but that's only for 8 months of the current year. And I understand the projection is going to be £550,000, which will be over and above the 1.7 million NSC budget. So I'm assuming the NSC manager, who I believe is Carl Glover, has been requesting this extra funding. Just wondering, can you give some details as to what that more than £500,000 overspend will be on? I also notice on page 18 of your recently released report that there's an intention to spend another near £500,000 on heat pumps for the NSC to mitigate against high gas prices. However, I noticed the Financial Times this morning is reporting that the wholesale natural gas price has been stable for quite some time at 2014 prices. So I'm just wondering if you might think about altering your future energy pricing model in that report to reflect the reality when gas is purchased and the next round of purchases for gas. And I've also noticed that on the same page 18 of your report, it says that the NSC is the only pool on the island that's eligible for climate change funding. But doesn't this kind of say that the NSC has become a bottomless money pit compared to all the other regional pools that are run by boards who have to manage their budgets, especially bearing in mind that Douglas, Onchan, your constituency, and Braddon don't contribute to the swimming pool rates, unlike the rest of the island?
Well, lots of questions there for Julie. Julie, do you want to have a go at answering?
Certainly. Hi, Julian. Obviously,
Hi, Julie.
I have been listening into some of the conversations over the last week, and people have been getting back to me. I just want to make it clear, Julian, the employees, and I do feel that the way that this broke into the public domain must have been really difficult for the employees. But the report was due to go on the Tynwald website on the Monday. I met with the Southern Pool Board, who are the employers of the employees at the Southern Swimming Pool. It's not my department or the government. It is the Southern Swimming Pool Board that employ them. And obviously we went to meet with the Southern Pool Board to ensure that they could contact their employees to say that this report was to go on the Tynwald website for debate and decision at the February sitting of Tynwald. So, it's clear that something has leaked between my meeting with the board and the employees, and I haven't even seen the letter that's been talked about that's been leaked, because it hasn't been sent to me, because it's not my letter, it's not a government letter, it's a letter that's been sent, I am assuming, from the Southern Pool Board to their employees. So that's the first point. With regards to the structure of the funding for swimming pools and community swimming pools, and I want to try and be as fair as I can to Onchan constituents, because that's what we're here for today. But you've obviously brought up significant conversation around the NSC. The NSC is a national pool. My understanding, when the NSC was built, it was through donated land from the East, from Douglas Corporation, and for it to be a national pool. You're right to point out that the recent Freedom of Information request with regards to overspend at the NSC has been reported. That is a mid-year spend for the NSC. And of course, you also pointed out about heat source pumps being out of the budget. Actually, heat source pumps would be coming from Climate Change Fund. That's, that you're right to say that. You've also commented about gas prices being stable. The biggest energy usage at the NSC for its budget is actually electricity. And we all know that electricity is virtually doubled from it was 16 pence per unit. It's now, it's 31 pence. So the significant challenge around energy for the NSC is the increase in the electricity prices, which obviously they were held, and subvented really during the energy crisis and the cost of living crisis, but they have now been increased, and that is the significant increase in the NSC. It's not just gas, it is electricity.
Julian, are you happy with the answers? Julian?
However, the electricity is generated from a gas turbine, so if the gas price comes down, the electricity price will come down, won't it? In theory, hopefully.
Well, that's certainly, that's a question for the MUA, but their prices and rates have been released, and currently the bills that people are receiving, I'm quite certain it's 31 pence per unit.
My other question for you is, following this is on your education hat, if that's okay. Following the QE2 transgender and drag queen curriculum debacle that happened some time ago, what's the future plan for the transgender part of the curriculum, or will it be scrapped following mass backlash from parents?
So, Julian, I've always stated that we will be bringing back a revised curriculum on RSE into our schools. It's currently being worked on by the professionals, and certainly a lot of the criticism in the COVID report was that the professionals weren't listened to. We're listening to our professionals, and we will come forward with the right curriculum for RSE within our schools. I think it's really important that we ensure all of our students are aware of choices they can make in life, and certainly when that comes back, it will be fully transparent as to the way forward we are going to go with the RSE curriculum.
What qualifications required for somebody to teach that particularly?
Well, obviously we have all qualified teachers in our school, but part of the recommendation for the investigation that was done into the RSE was that we should have specialist teachers working in that area. It is a difficult area for some teachers to teach, and that's what we're currently working on, and we will come back with the right curriculum for the Isle of Man, not a curriculum that's been copied from elsewhere. We'll be looking at obviously the best that's out there, and I think it's really important to help support our students and protect them going forward, that they're aware of challenges that they could face in the future, and that they have choices around many areas that they will come across in life.
Okay, thanks very much. I'll zip off and give other people a chance to ring in.
Well, thanks for your call, Julian. And remember, listeners, this is a phone-in programme primarily, so please do get in touch if you have a question for the Onchan MHKs. Three people have done that. John in Onchan asks Julie who is responsible for the Southern Pool staff. I think you've answered that. That's the Southern Swimming Pool Board, isn't it?
That's correct, yes. They are employed by the Southern Swimming Pool Board, which obviously is made up of representatives from all the local authorities in the south.
Another question, we'll do one question for Rob, and this is from Jeff, a resident of Lakeside Gardens. So Rob might already have worked out what the question is going to be. Several years ago, Rob promised to do everything in his power to bring the outcasts of Lakeside Gardens and Housedrake back into the Onchan constituency. So far, nothing has changed, and we are represented by MHKs that do not appear to have any interest in us unless an election is in the offing. Will we ever be returned to the fold, or will we always be ignored? I know that Rob will always help if possible, but I hate being an outsider in my own village.
And that is an opinion that's shared by a lot of people who happen to be living in the parish of Onchan at the moment. Just to answer Jeff's question, what I actually said, if it goes back to 2016, is because I came through a local authority election where I served the whole of Onchan, the parish and the village, what I actually said is I would continue to serve the whole constituency of Onchan, and I've continued to do that, and I have fulfilled that promise, and I will continue to fulfill that promise in the future. What I have said recently is there is going to be a boundary review, and there's going to be a motion in Tynwald, and there's going to be some changes in the north of the island. What I've actually said is I will be moving an amendment, and I'm hoping my colleague Julie will support me, and that amendment will be to bring all of Onchan back together. Now, what I've actually said is it's almost impossible that I will get the support from my colleagues for Onchan to have 3 MHKs, even though all of the evidence says Onchan should have 3 MHKs given the size of its constituency, the number of voters. However, what I'm proposing to do is to bring an amendment for the whole of Onchan to come back together, but only to have 2 MHKs in the future. That will sort out the discrepancy, and I'm hoping that that motion will be supported by my colleagues in Tynwald in the near future. So bear with me, Jeff. I'm still on the case, but if you need me, you know how to contact me.
Julie, are you a subscriber to putting Onchan back together again?
Certainly, as Rob said, but I get many contacts from all over the island. Actually, as a national politician, it's not just Onchan, but I think one of the key areas of perhaps a lower turnout for the Lakeside and that part of Onchan has been the fact that we can't represent them. Many people come up to me and say, if I could vote for you, I would. There is a boundary review. There's the Electoral Commission, I believe, are about to report on that. It will be interesting what comes out, but I did attend the meetings, and it was clear that due to the increases in numbers of voters in certain areas of the island, there was going to have to be changes because it was done on the numbers. It's the first time the boundary review's been done since the 2016 election, when Rob and I when Onchan went down to 2. But I think the important thing for the people of Onchan is that we have a fair system in place so that they can voice their opinions to the national politicians.
And here's a rather direct question. A question for both MHKs. Other than being good at waffling your way out of situations, what makes you qualified to be an MHK? So, I don't know, Rob?
I'll take it first. Well, I think the question is, it's up to each individual, each constituent across the island. If they believe we waffle, I like to believe that I'm very open, very honest, very transparent. I give a fair answer to a question that's tabled. So if that caller or that texter has a particular topic that he wants me to give a direct answer to, that I'm more than happy to. I don't believe I waffle. I think I answer things very clearly and consent based on evidence.
Julie?
Yeah, certainly, and thanks for the question. I think one of the things when I was first elected in 2016, obviously open transparency, I was the champion for the whistleblowers. I brought a lot of that forward, knowing what was coming down the line from Manx Care, in that situation. However, I think the key thing which I have noticed going into Tynwald is having been a public servant for 38 years before going into Tynwald has been the most valuable piece for me, and that experience working within local authorities, working within Manx Utilities, working at our hospital, and obviously as a civil servant in education for the latter 20 years before being elected, I think that's been really important to be able to move things forward quickly.
Well, it's time for a break, but don't forget, if you have a question for the MHKs, or indeed if there's anything else on your mind this dinner time, 66 13 68 is the number to call. You can also text 166 177, and there are several of those which we'll get to shortly, or email studio@manxradio.com. Remember, this programme is so much better when you call.
In 1964, Manx Radio was born. Right the way through this momentous year, we are marking the nation station's 60th birthday. On Monday and Friday, the Mannin line closes with a revealing dip into the archives. On Wednesday's Mannin line, we revisit the architectural gems revealed over the years by Kelly's Eye. And Kelly's Eye will be on Guller's Gargan at 5 on Sunday. And you can subscribe to all of our anniversary content online. Go to the podcast series 60 Years Serving the Nation at manxradio.com. Manx Radio at 60, born to broadcast, happy to help.
For your new bathroom, head to Pacesetter, Harris Terrace, Douglas or Spring Valley. In Pacesetter's fully fitted showroom, you'll find the latest bathroom products and designs, from new contemporary styles to traditional Victorian tiles, wall and ceiling panels, accessories and much more. With many ranges exclusive to Pacesetters, plus professional design advice from the experts, visit Pacesetter, Harris Terrace, Douglas or Spring Valley.
You can get the best of everything, where the price is twice as nice.
Crossroads Isle of Man, putting carers first.
Visit the latest Crossroads charity shop, now open at 11 Tynwald Street. It's open Monday to Saturday from 10 until 5 p.m, selling a wide range of clothing, books and bric-a-brac. Find yourself a bargain and support the great work that Crossroads do to help carers on the island.
Crossroads Isle of Man, putting carers first.
Step into Office World, the island's largest fully stocked stationery store, where there's over 5,000 items on display to take away. From pens, paper, inks and toners to general stationery, adhesives and batteries. You can get what you need right now from Office World. With all the big brands, including Pilot, Pentel, Sellotape, Duracell, Gorilla, Pucker Pads and more. Office World is conveniently located on Spring Valley Industrial Estate, with easy parking right outside the door.
Office World. Manx Radio.
So, welcome back to the Mannin line, and we have two guests with us, Julie Edge and Rob Callister, and this is your chance to talk to them and discuss with them any issues affecting the Isle of Man, or indeed specifically about Onchan. And we do have some callers. We've got lots of texts and quite detailed questions in about pools, but I should say that Perspective this Sunday is going to have a lot of that. So I may just take some of those questions and ask those when we get to that Perspective programme. But now it's like Blackpool Illuminations on the phones. So if we go first to Gillian on line 1, who hopefully is joining us. Gillian, Fast Am I? Good afternoon.
Fast Am I? Yes, this is Gillian. This is a question for Julie, please. Well, rather a statement in a question. I'm the spokeswoman of a large group of ladies who regularly take a swim at the NSC. We've had cancer last year, major surgeries, including myself, and it's our road for recovery. But we're finding it very, very difficult to take a swim because of schools taking up the shallow end, and also now the fast lane. It's closed in the morning, and we're early birds, and I daren't go into the cold sea. And so our whole morning we're waiting to go to the NSC because of school closing. But then sometimes we can't even get in we got 2 lanes out of the 3. So you can imagine it's not a comfort to try and do our regular swim with the fast people being in the middle lane. So we're really worried about this for the future of our health. If other schools come, Julie, but we're never going to be able to go for a swim. So could you, if you do close the school pool, could we have another one or a bigger pool made? Thank you, Julie.
And thanks, Gillian. And obviously, I'm sorry to hear that you've had cancer. I've had it myself, and I've had major surgery again in September. So I do fully understand the importance of being able to recover and have activities that are appropriate to you. Obviously, it's been announced that the Southern Swimming Pool will be continuing with its current subvention for a further year, but the bigger piece for me with regards to the NSC, and I do understand your concerns around if there's more children coming into the NSC to swim. Obviously, that programme has been worked on. We are looking at that. But I do think that it's very important that it's well communicated from the community pools, from the NSC, what swim space is available and bookable for the public, whether that's at the national pool at the NSC or whether that's at the community pools. And certainly it's been very interesting doing this exercise to see the differences around the pools. I know the Southern pool operators and the board have worked really closely to try and ensure they can operate within budget and reducing the hours at the Southern Swimming Pool to accommodate their financial challenges. However, I think it's really important as an island that the public are aware of what swimming is available around the island. Our swim space per head of population is appropriate. It's for the island if you look at all the national figures. But I will take your comments back to my officers, Gillian, and ensure that we publish all this really well. And it will be a 6-lane swimming pool on the Castle Rushen development. That's the master plan that I've had developed in line with the island plan and the economic strategy.
Julie, that'll be a while away. Yeah, I want to get healthy now. And it's really horrendous to try and swim there. So if you would look into that, please, we can maybe have a longer early bird session for people who are really do need this. I'm speaking on behalf of a big group of women, and I'm the spokesperson. So please look into that for us.
Thank you, Gillian, and I will do.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Gillian. Rob, were you wanting to come in there?
I just wanted to thank Gillian as well for coming online today. It's very clear. The report outlines very, very clearly that the benefits from a health point of view, the cost savings and everything else. As an MHK, I'm happy to go on the record to say that I personally will not support the closure of the Southern Swimming Pool until the new facility is open and it could be swapped over. But this does open up a wider discussion around how we pay for our leisure facilities in the future. Should it be through rates? Should it be through taxes? Should Onchan, Braddon and Douglas pay towards those facilities? These are very big conversations that need to be had. And when I was looking at this particular topic myself, it's disappointing that the 2019 consultation on rates modernisation had no reference to leisure facilities. And that's something that we need to have a discussion. But from where I am, it's very clear in my mind that I will not support the closure of the Southern Swimming Pool until a new facility in the south of the island is up and running.
And, well, you've posed those questions then. Would you support an all-island leisure rate?
I think there needs to be a discussion because the people...
That wasn't the question.
Well, I've asked a lot of people, and a lot of people, depending on what facilities and services they've used, some will say that rates are better, some will say taxes. Now, if everything in a normal world, I would probably go for taxes. However, we've got a lot of historic problems that we have to pay, overspending of departments, we've got pension deficits, there's major problems to be overcome. So maybe the better place to actually fund these is through the rates. But that's a conversation with the people of the island that we need to have.
David Quirk is waiting very patiently online too, and he has the summary that's been provided to me, questions concerning the pool and Council of Ministers. David, fast am I.
Hi, Phil, and your guests. Can I ask then to probably Julie, and I'll ask Rob later, would he have done something differently? is, did she have talks with the Council of Ministers? Did she not correspond with the Council of Ministers, or did they not have them in when the closure was going to happen? Why didn't you talk to the Southern MHKs, which is normally the practice what a minister would have confidence in other MHKs around the island to discuss the issue? And do you think it's quite strange that the Speaker of the House of Keys, great lad, come up within a day or so with working out things, come up with figures to save the pool? Aren't you embarrassed?
Certainly not, David. As a national politician, I've followed all due process. As you know, there is a stringent process for papers to go into the Council of Ministers. Once that decision was reached in the Council of Ministers, the most important area for me was to ensure the sensitivities around the employees at the swimming pool was covered off first. So there was a briefing for all Tynwald members, including Southern MHKs, on the 9th of January. Unfortunately, I wasn't present at that. My mum was very seriously ill in Nobles Hospital, but my department took that, led by Claire Christian MHK. And then on the following day, the 10th of January, I went to the Southern Board to deliver the outcome of the recommendation. And it is only a recommendation, David, and you well know, being an ex-MHK, Department of Education, Sport and Culture cannot close a pool. We can only recommend, and the fiscal responsibility I had at that point for my department was to protect the finances and look at it, and the additional deficits that were coming forward from all of the community pools were not affordable by my department for the budget that we receive. With regards to the Speaker of the House of Keys coming up with an alternative plan for the Southern swimming pool, that's entirely in their gift as MHKs to do that and to discuss that with the Southern Pool Board. However, the Southern Pool Board has representatives from all the local authorities in the south, and that, as far as I'm aware to date, I have not received anything from the Southern Pool Board to say they accept that financial plan. However, what we have said as a government, we'll continue to support the existing subvention of $434,000. And that's the analysis that's been carried out with that subvention as the analysis. Now that is then down to the local authorities to raise additional rates in the whole of the south of the island, and that's part of that new analysis that comes forward. So really and truthfully, David, to answer the question, it's not, I haven't done a U-turn. I've said I will continue to subvent with the existing budget. The additional funding that was requested by the Southern Pool Board they are now saying they don't need that. So I think perhaps people should think about what the significant change has been here.
And just before, I'll bring David back in shortly. I'm going to bring Rob in, but just before that, did a draft of this report, did that not get shared with the Southern Pool Board?
It did, Phil, and that was shared at the end of November, and it was specifically put out to the Southern Pool Board to take to their members, their representative commissioner authorities, on the 30th of November to check the figures. The figures that we have utilised have all come to my department from the local authorities, and I know there has been some challenge around that, but certainly I've seen the emails with the figures that have been utilised.
So you must have been quite surprised then to hear that the Southern Pool Board was challenging the figures in that report.
Certainly, I think that possibly, between the 30th of November and the New Year, or when I went to the Southern Pool Board on the 10th of January, there does seem to be some form of breakdown in communication over that report, possibly. Obviously, I can't comment; it's local authorities. But with regard to the report, and the real important piece here is the sensitivity around publishing that report. I went to the Southern Pool Board to make sure they informed their staff first that a recommendation was going to Tynwald, but it would only be decided in February Tynwald sitting. Now, Phil, you know the process for Tynwald. David knows the process for Tynwald. And sadly, this has been debated outside of the Tynwald chamber. And, the democratic process I am following, I've followed the process to take papers to the Council of Ministers.
Rob?
Yeah, I was just going to come back on David's point with regard to the Council of Ministers. Obviously, we're all aware that the Council of Ministers can give a direction to a department. To the best of my knowledge, that didn't happen. And the presentation that we attended, The members were given the options of either 3A or 3B, which would have involved the closure of one regional swimming pool, which is what the report says. That thereafter, there is a debate in Tynwald about which of those options it takes. So I absolutely get that point. But in respect to council, they can direct. And as far as I'm aware, unless the minister wants to correct me, the Council of Ministers has not given a direction, which means the decision regarding which option is presented to Tynwald members as their sort of understanding of the way they want to go forward. They would have to make a motion to say this is the direction we want. This is either 3A, 3B or something else. It's up to Tynwald then to accept it. But as far as I'm aware, Council has not given direction in this matter.
Well, we've got two more callers hanging on the line. But David, have you got a quick follow-up there?
I just want to say, really, there's more than this that meets the eye. People's lives and jobs were affected here. And for a minister, whether you are the member for Onchan too, sometimes simply to say, I'm sorry, it's gone this way. And I think the council minister's job is just alluded to. Did you not get a direction from the Council of Ministers? Did they not say anything? Didn't they not say to you this is going to cause difficulties right around the island?
I think, David, you're very aware that there's some difficult financial challenges coming our way for the island. Tough decisions do need to be made. I think people, and certainly the people of Onchan, know I will not shy away from difficult decisions, but I will always make sure I've got the facts in front of me before making that decision. We had all the facts in front of us. We already were aware of the master plan, as were all MHKs, including the southern MHKs, that the master plan included a 6-lane swimming pool investment for the south of the island, and that will be completed with the school by 2030. I think that's significant, and that's significant investment in education facilities, community facilities and sports facilities for our island, and that's what nationally we should be doing. I totally understand that I think actually the leaked letter has been the sort of situation that's blown this up really, and as I say, I still haven't seen that leaked letter. I don't know who the letter's from. I don't know how it's been leaked. But we do need to move forward. And the sensitivity I've already explained to other callers around the staff at the Southern Pool Board was the responsibility of the Southern Swimming Pool Board to deliver that to their employees. They are their employees, and we were very conscious of that, and that's why we have approached this in the way we have, by going to the Southern Pool Board to get them to speak to their employees before the debate in Tynwald.
Well, just a quick message to Brian and Stephen, who are waiting on the lines. Sadly, we're going to have to take another break, but I'm coming straight to your calls after this.
Housing, benefits or employment issues, faulty goods, bad workmanship, financial problems and relationship breakdowns. We all run into difficulties in life, and it can feel like there's no one who can help you sort them out. But at Manx Citizens Advice Service, we can help. As an independent charity, we offer free, confidential support covering all sorts of areas. You don't need an appointment. Just call in at Promenade Church, Loch Promenade, Douglas, or call 366 338. Open Tuesdays from 12:30 till 3 and Fridays 10 till 12:30. Manx Citizens Advice Service. Your advice service.
Spectrum Windows. If your house needs a new look and your windows laid in red, keep those cold breezes out and make it look like new again. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Quality through and through. Great work guaranteed to you. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Spectrum Windows.
It's B&B Furniture's winter sale, with fantastic bed and bedroom savings in our newly extended bed department, plus free bedding packs and extra gifts available with selected purchases. There's 0% finance too. On now.
Bored of the same nights out at the same places? Then choose Mannin Hotel for a night of incredible entertainment. On Saturday the 27th of January, enjoy our tribute night with Adele's biggest hits. Experience a night of amazing entertainment, a 3-course a la carte dinner, plus overnight stay and breakfast for only £195 per couple. Or enjoy a 3-course a la carte dinner plus amazing entertainment for £50 per person. Visit manninhotel.im or call 602 555.
When the Mannin line's not on air, call Manx Radio to leave your opinion for broadcast on 682 631.
So we're back with the Mannin line. Julie Edge and Rob Callister, Onchan MHKs, join us. And on line 3, Brian has waited for a very long time. Thank you for waiting, Brian. You have a question, and it's something to do with Castle Rushen High School.
That's correct, yes. Castle Rushen High School. Thanks, Phil, and Julie and Rob. Julie, I've just heard you say you don't shy away from making decisions. 2016, the decision was made to replace Castle Rushen School, and some set to one side of 40 million for the job. Over £1 million has already been spent on design, and now we're being told that there's 3 to 4 million been set to one side here now, recently, and it's going to take 106 weeks to do the design work. Well, as far as I'm concerned, schools are a utility building. You could buy a secondary school off the shelf in kit form, prefab form, and it could be up and erected here on the Isle of Man in 2 years. Have you considered that option rather than getting redesigning the wheel, basically? They're there, they're out there, you can buy them. What's your answer to that, Julie?
Thanks, Brian, and thanks for your question. Obviously, I wasn't the Minister for Education in 2016, and I do agree that there wasn't a lot of progress in the previous administration. However, since I've been the Minister, I have that design for the whole site. I think it's the right thing to do to maximise the site for education and for sport and community facilities in the south, and also access to the playing fields and the fields beyond. That's significant to me to have that vision for the south, but with regards to timelines and design and funds that have already gone, we have got the ground source heat pumps already in, all under the fields. The fields are there, ready to go. The ground source heat pump, which was significant in the work that I've had done from the master plan, will be able to be utilised for all the facilities we are putting on that site. So there has been great investment so far. With regards to the 106 weeks plan, that is obviously the major projects unit. And I think, Brian, we have got caught up in a new capital procedure process that's been brought forward by Treasury. And obviously, the process for that has changed. Tynwald members are still trying to get to grips with that, but this is the first project, and I'm actually quite proud that the department has been able to get this investment into the south for a school, and that we will be starting that school. But design stage for any major projects, and certainly we shouldn't rush it. We need to get it right. I've always said a lot of the problems with government is you've got to get it right and nailed at that design stage, and then ensure you've got the right contract in place, and whether that's a design and build project, or whether that's a wet build, or whether that is, as you say, an off the shelf. There's so many different construction techniques, and certainly I know there's commitment from the Chief Minister to have this school and spades in the ground as soon as possible, and I'm certainly behind that as well. I'm pushing it, I'm driving it, and I think we've got further than we ever have on the site to ensure a school is there with this significant sports complex and swimming pool.
Brian, are you content with the answer?
Absolutely not. It's waffle again. It's just taken time. My point being, a secondary school has already been designed. Just look at, you don't need to have all this £3-4 million spent on design. Redesigning something that's already done.
Brian, can I come back?
Get in. No. Get into it. It's just another 2 years down the line, and there'll be nothing done.
Brian,
get on
education
with the
moves
job.
forward fast, and obviously the design that was done was not appropriate for the requirements for education today. We all know post-COVID that we need to be moving a lot of things online and things like that. That's come out clearly in the COVID report. So designs and education is changing. It's changing rapidly. In fact, it's changing significantly and hasn't done for 50 years. So we need to try and future-proof that site. It's not waffle. The design is going ahead. The money is there from Treasury for the secondary school and the design for the sports complex, and we are moving forward.
Well, sadly, Brian, we're going to have to leave it there because I've got Stephen who's been waiting for, it looks like 21 minutes. So, Stephen, hopefully you're still with us.
Yes, I am, and good afternoon, Phil. Good afternoon, Julian. Good afternoon, Rob, and good afternoon, listeners. My question is really, as your national politicians, and we've got the budget coming next month. So my question is it possible to balance the budget, or at least start to balance the budget, given where we are in the Tynwald time frame, this Tynwald time frame? Can it be done without any pain? And what's your thoughts of how it can be done? Would any MHK vote for unpopular decisions at this point in the time frame? Because another possibly year and a bit down the line, you'll be looking at the general election. And the next part of the question is it now time to revisit some of the strategic aims of the Chief Minister in his strategic plan? Should some of these sacred cows be revisited, which are costing us a lot of money? So there's my question. How will we balance the budget? How will we have the pay? Is it possible without any pain? And are we at the wrong point in this Tynwald?
Well, I think if we start with Rob, because he's been sitting there scribbling away. I'm not sure, is he drawing a picture or what's going on? But anyway, Rob.
Yeah, good afternoon, Stephen. I think the honest answer is no. I think it's going to be really difficult to balance the budget, taking into account all of the historic problems that we've encountered, especially around pension deficits, for example. Obviously, we have the budget next month. We don't know what's in that just yet. But thereafter, it's going to be a long and slow process. If you take the UK, for example, some of the sort of finances that went into COVID, that's a generational thing. That's going to take a long time to recover those. So there are difficult conversations to be had around growing our population, increasing our income, which I'm sure the Treasury Minister will outline in his budget in the future. These are incredibly difficult questions we're going to have to ask. The question is how we resolve them, because we still need new housing. We need housing opportunity. We need jobs, security on our island. The government needs income. It needs to cut back its own costs. At some point, the Isle of Man is going to have to stop, pause, and then speak to the people of this island about some of those really difficult decisions we're going to have to make in the future.
Julie, your department, of course, is very salary heavy, so you're very much at the mercy of pay negotiations, really, aren't you?
Yeah, certainly, Phil, and that does impact, obviously, my department when obviously the budget is done on a fixed percentage increase across government. That can make it very challenging, and certainly has made it challenging for my department last year. However, we have a duty to award the recommended pay bodies decision to our teachers, and we will continue to do that. But with regards to balancing the budget, that's exactly what I've done for my department going forward for 24-25. This is the first decision that's had to be taken with obviously the strategic foresight of that investment for the South. Now, it's only a recommendation that's gone forward, but can you imagine if we're going to come forward with any bigger, tougher decisions on budgets or costs in Manx care or prescriptions, eye appointments and that. There are some significant challenges. But one thing I would say, post-COVID, I think the government invested well. However, there has been a hold on various increases and rises across the piece for government, whether that be road taxes or anything, but they are all taxes. Local authorities are a tax a rate is a tax. And I do think what has actually happened here is it's proved that structural way of working, whether it with local authorities and government working with local authorities, we certainly need to be looking at that. And I think there is time to do that. Whether there's time to do full rates reform, that's questionable when there's election looming. And the elections in the local authorities are coming in 2025, so it's very unlikely that would happen. But I certainly think these are significant challenges ahead.
Stephen, we're running a bit short on time, but any follow-ups?
Well, just to say, should we... I know you've all supported the Chief Minister's strategic plan of growing the economy and increasing the numbers, but if we're merely spending our own money to increase this and make the bubble work, then is that really proper? Is that proper money? Is that a significant attraction to come into the island if at the end of the period we've not significantly improved our income tax take, we've merely used our reserves to create that? Is it time to revisit this plan that's been... I never supported, for example, the increase in population or the spend of the rent price to give money to developers to build expensive apartments. So there is things that can be done. Possibly we could even look at the ring-fenced amount for climate change to help balance other budgets, such as possibly health and education. These will be unpopular things to say, I do know that. However, just to continue as we are, I don't think is the right course. And I do understand that we're in the wrong time in this tin world. I suppose really the unpopular decisions should be taken early. And I consider that probably this tin world now will push these unpopular decisions to the next general election.
Thanks for that, Stephen. Very quick then, we've only got a relatively short time. Rob?
Yeah, I think there is some very good points within the economic strategy which the Chief Minister passed. You know, creating 5,000 new jobs, 1,000 homes, and we've got to remember 250 of those will be affordable housing. So there's some very good plus things within that document. Obviously, in the future, we may have to look at priority budgeting, where we actually focus down within our community what we can actually deliver, what may need to be paid through other sources in the future. Take, for example, eye appointments, doctor appointments, all of them, really difficult conversations to be had.
Julie, 30 seconds to answer that.
Okay, I think it is right that government facilitates investment in the island done by private investors. I think we need to work really closely with our businesses. A lot of them are small to medium enterprises. They're key to keeping the island going. But with regards to reviewing it, the Chief Minister's constantly reviewing, and he and the Council of Ministers, which is a collective responsibility group of people, will come forward with what's right for the island for the future. And certainly from an Onchan constituency point of view, I'm always in there for continuing to challenge where things I don't think meet what the Onchan people would expect. However, we have collective responsibility. Rob and I work closely, certainly on things like the Bishop and that, and I think we need to continue to do that.
Well, thanks for that. A couple of very interesting messages in. Brian for MHK, and then what a load of waffle Brian was talking. So, I don't know about you, but I enjoyed that. That's all for today, the day of the big storm, or the day after the big storm. Thank you to Onchan MHKs, Rob Callister and Julie Edge for bringing light to our understanding of the work they do. Thanks to Barry for producing, and I think I'm getting the hang of the knobs and dials now, but particular thanks to you for your company and contributions. Alex will be back with tomorrow's Mannin Line, and remember, if you think of something you'd like to mention when the Mannin Line isn't on air, or our out of hours number is 682 631, you can leave a message which may be played out on the next show. Coming up next, Nenji's Tree with Christy D.
60 years serving you